Hi, welcome to In Bold Print with Dee McNair on the air and my co-host.
Tamoji, the empowerment
And
specialist.
you will be empowered, you will be enlightened because we talk about what's relevant
Hot and trending.
by examining the bold print. Welcome to the show.
The fine print.
Fine is always good. You know, there's nothing like a fine man.
Ooh,
There's nothing like fine diamonds.
ooh.
There's nothing like a fine house. And if anybody out there listening in the audience, hey, write in, call in, do whatever you got to do. If you want to pay off all my debts, give me some bling bling, give me something to make me sing, and drive down the road. Tamoji, they can make it bold in my life. God is bold in my life. I don't mind if people want to bless me and make me bold elsewhere.
Wow. Well, the word says if you have not because you ask not, and she just asked, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to touch that topic right there.
I'm able to
Ooh,
receive. I am able to receive. If we sound a little power encouraging for ourselves today, that's what we're asking you to do today. In Bold Print brings you what's relevant, hot, and trending. But what's relevant and what's hot and what's trending quite often is because you empower yourself to take authority over some things. Other things you need to just equip yourself with them. And I think that so often, Tamoja, you know, we each have had trying days from time to time. But you being an empowerment specialist has helped me
ooh.
by sitting in on many of your workshops, many of your tutorials. I have been able to find the power tools, the right tools, and equip myself to encourage myself. You know, David encouraged himself. I'm encouraging Dee.
Well, Dee, I have to give you credit for encouraging me too, because when you're called to encourage people, when that's the calling on your life, you need to be encouraged sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and you need someone who's going to empower you. And for those of you who don't know, Dee and I do a call
Forgive
every
that, you all messing with her hair.
Thursday night. What did I miss?
For those who did miss it, I have no shame. There was this hair that was determined to fall in my eye, and you all know what happens when you get a hair in your eye. It is major.
Yes, it
It is
is.
major pain. So I
Major
just wanted to move
pain.
it. I didn't want to have to encourage myself. I just see and just want to make sure that hair is gone. But go ahead.
Every
Sorry, go ahead.
Thursday night, we do an empowerment call. And Dee opens the call, and,
Mm-hmm.
and just in just a few minutes, she's able to, no matter what I've gone through throughout my day, she's able to open the door to our listeners and open the door for me to become that empowerment specialist in that 15 minutes. So, Dee, you are amazing on Thursday nights. I pick the
Thank you.
topic, and sometimes, and Dee has told on me before. Not only has she told on me, she has told on me live in an audience full of people. You do know, for those of you who are on the call, Tamoji doesn't send me the call topic sometimes until 5 minutes before the call. She just put me on blast, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, she did. But guess what? She is so fabulous, so dynamic, so equipped and empowered that even if I don't give her the call topic until 5 minutes before the call, 3 minutes before the call, she's on the line and she's getting the listeners warmed up, and me too. She's on it. She always has a fresh analogy, a fresh spin on whatever the topic is. And tell them, when I send you the topic, how many words is it usually?
One word, the max I've seen is three. And that's a good thing. If you've been watching the show every week, and I hope you have, you know last week we were talking about packing for your purpose, and we were talking purposeful packing. Oh, that's almost a tongue twister.
It is.
Purposeful packing. And it's the same thing with the 15-minute empowerment call. You are on that call for a reason. You're on that call for a purpose. You don't need a lot of delay. And so when Tamoshi gives me the topic, it doesn't take a whole lot of words. She has a purpose for the call. She has spent time meditating, hearing, discerning. And if it was at the last midnight hour when she got the revelation of what the call should be about that particular night, she doesn't find the need to use a paragraph to relay that to me. Also, you know, Tamoja, one of the things I think that's really great, and we are talking about in bold print, because what's
Yeah.
in bold print for me is that you are able to give me the topic in 1 to 3 words. Because of that, I can't ad lib and try to guess what the vision is for the purposeful call.
Right.
I can't add my 2 cents to it. And sometimes we all need to stop being busybodies and stop adding our 2 cents to things. We need to just
Well, all right.
take the one word that's in bold print and go with it. And that's what I like about the 15-minute calls that you do. That's what I like about the empowerment 15 minutes that I get every week. Is that I have a clear discernment for what I think I want to go, with in my life. But then when I get on the call, I get this extra little boost that is succinct, concise, but totally rich with the information you're sharing with us. And then I can go with it. So that's why I enjoy doing the calls. It's a great pleasure, hosting this show with Tamoji, but also introducing her for her call every Thursday night.
Thank you so much for that. When you can take one word and roll with it, that makes you a bad sister. You hear me? She's
Or
a
brother,
bad man,
because
Gemma.
thank you, men
I
who
was
are
singing
watching in bold print, but thank you also. There are a lot of men on the
my
call.
song.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
There are a lot of men on the call, though, and we get their feedback, and that's really good because quite often I know these people are working, they're tired, they're trying to get kids down. There are a lot of single moms, single dads, and they appreciate that you are succinct.
Well, the call is on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. And if you want more information about the call, you can find it on my Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter page, or on my website, tamojijackson.com or tamoji.com. But the reason why we only have that call for 15 minutes is because we honor your time. We know Thursday night at 9, you might be getting ready for work, you might be getting the children ready for school, you might, be cleaning up the kitchen after dinner or whatever. And so we want to make sure that we take just a small amount of your time, but as Dee stated, fill it up with something that you can take with you.
Well, also what we want to fill up your little room that you're sitting in, and I say little room because it's little when you're sitting in it by itself, but when you get within bold print, I know it gets really, really big. Last time I looked, the news had the same blah, 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 but there's been some happening, trending news. I know we usually talk about what's relevant first a lot of the times, but there's been some trending stuff going on,
Okay.
Tamoji. And I don't have, much to add to it, but I like to stir the pot a little bit.
Well,
So tell me,
get to
what's been
stirring.
trending? What's been trending?
Well, let's see. I'm going to say this. I like music.
Oh, doesn't she like music? I
Because
get to hear
I
her
can't sing. And so because
I
I
didn't say
can't
you couldn't sing.
but
You
but
just
I
like
know
to sing.
I know I can't sing. And so because I can't sing, I like people who can, and I like great singers. And Adele recently released her first single in a minute called Hello. And
Hello to the most wonderful man, I have to interject this, who is celebrating a special birthday today.
who?
And I can't sing, but my wonderful covering, my handsome, magnificent head, the covering of my
Today?
life today, and hey, every day. Hey, I celebrate him every day, but it's his birthday.
Oh, wow.
And though we say we can't sing, I have no shame. I will sing for my Lord and I will sing for my man. So, 2 seconds. Happy birthday to you.
Dun,
Happy
dun.
birthday to you.
Dun, dun.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Did she channel her inner Marilyn Monroe on that?
Let's just say we'll find out what Marilyn does later on. So, happy birthday to you, honey. But now, you were saying Adele has this song about hello, and that's what made me think of it. I said hello to that wonderful man this morning, and I have not had a chance to celebrate with him in the last few hours, and I
Okay.
wanted to celebrate him every hour.
Oh,
so I
wow.
just felt
And
like-
happy birthday to Mr. McNair, who is just absolutely amazing. And I love both of them individually, but collectively, that's a bad couple right there. I'm telling you. You guys rock. You really do.
Well, that's the advantage of power. And in the Adele song, I remember watching the video. And if you all haven't seen the video, I think you should go and check it out.
Yeah.
I think it adds so much more to the song. So often I've seen videos that didn't, but you were saying, Adele alone, we know her voice is powerful. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut off.
That's
sorry,
okay.
But Adele, that song, when I saw the video, it made me think about My Good Man.
And her song is one word, hello. That's the name of the
Hello.
song, hello. But when you listen to the song and like you said, watch the video, first of all, I think it like 1 million downloads in the first week. So
1
it like
million.
beats some record. And it talks about relationships where she hurt him. And oftentimes, those are not the songs we hear. We hear a lot, of the converse, but she's heard him. And it was a really interesting video. What I appreciated was that her long distance or used to be love interest was African American in the video.
Well, first of all, I think for those who may not know who Adele is, Adele happens to be Caucasian.
Yes.
And so that's a part. Now, let's just be clear. In this time, this century, this decade, whichever way you want to look at it, it isn't to say that we don't see a great deal of diversity in relationships. But in videos, so often they have been one way.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think I saw this video become quite positive as you watch it go on. Being able to say, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, I want you back, but not just I want you back. It implies I'm willing to work at it, and it embraced diversity all at the same time.
And diversity is very, very important. I mean, it's funny because you're looking at D and I on the show week after week, and when people found out we were doing this show, they said, huh? You two? And so diversity comes in many, shapes and forms. So not simply because we're two African American women who are both 29 sitting here.
I am not ashamed of my age, so
not telling.
I'm older than 29.
Well, so am I, but I'm not telling.
I won't tell on you.
Okay.
I won't.
Thank you, ma'am.
Today.
Okay. So since we're both two African American women, you might think that, okay, there's no diversity.
Deep tan.
There is no diversity here.
St. Thomas did it to me, deep tan.
But there is plenty of diversity sitting right here because we are alike in many ways, but in so many ways we are extremely different. And so like friends and family were like, you two are doing a show? We're like, yeah, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that, D?
Well, I don't know, but I'm having another one of those hot flashes at the moment. I tell you what, for those of y'all who don't know, when you sit under lights and camera, it's quite hot. I thought I had a little trick to help me out with this today, but I have no shame. And she is determined to make it a bigger deal than it is. But, if you've watched the show, I have no problem with doing this right here. So I tell you what, I'm going to just put the paper down and I'm going to be good. But Adele hit the scene a few years back. Adele's a mother now.
Is she?
Am I right? Isn't Adele a mother now? I thought Adele was a mother now.
I don't know that much.
I thought somebody was saying she was thinking about it. So let me back up.
Okay.
I heard she desired to have a child one day. And we're going to stop at that. And I'm going to look that up. I'm going to find out about that, okay?
Can we Google that?
Everybody knows that you and your tweet and your Google, so go ahead, Google it. Google Adele and children. Go ahead. Google
no,
it.
because now
everybody
since you
loves
want me to
Google.
do it,
Everybody loves Google.
it's not going to work right. So keep going.
So I'm going to keep going. But at any rate, when she hit the scene, I thought it was just not humorous. So what's another word? Ironic. That there was, matter of fact, do you remember there was a commercial with this little girl singing one of Adele's songs on a bus? And she actually wound up being on Good Morning America. I'll have to research her name. But when Adele hit the scene, there were so many people trying to imitate and emulate Adele because everybody heard that voice and knew that voice was magnificent.
Absolutely.
The song Hello, I think the lyrics are magnificent.
They are.
Along with the voice. And so I think that's one of the reasons it's trending is that she's proven I have a voice, I have a heart, and I have the ability to tell a story like no one else can. And be truthful in the story. It's not a negative story,
right?
But it's a truthful story.
And I mean, I think, it's just a testimony to the human spirit. We're all going to make mistakes. And for her to just passionately express that, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I think that is beautifully human to do so.
Well, I just realized, and to not slight anybody, I'm older, so I have no shame. I said that. I'm not ashamed of my age. Lionel Richie, wrote that song, Hello, and I'm not about to try to sing that, okay? You are spared that.
You mean, is it me you're looking for? That one? Yes.
And I think when he sung it, his lyrics were positive. And his were not, I'm not saying the two songs are identical, but that song does come to mind. Because I'm a biggie of saying that it's very rare. Now, Adele, I give her credit. The video most definitely is original. But have you noticed now, you see songs, see videos, you hear songs, and you can almost instantly peg what song was written maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago it comes from?
Yes, I see similarities in everything. Well, you know, there was controversy a while back with Marvin Gaye and
And
Robin
Robin
Thicke.
Thicke, I remember that.
Yes.
Did you hear the duplicate lyrics in that? I had struggled a little bit with that.
I thought it
And
was
I'm a
the
Marvin Gaye
music
fan.
or
I'm a Marvin
something.
Gaye fan. It took me a little while with that one. And again, I am not saying Adele and Lionel Richie that there's any, cross copying of the song. Just the two single words hello were in each song made me think of that.
Yes.
But with that, going back to Adele, when I heard her song, heard about 1 million selling, I asked myself, which was the factor to make it sell? Was it the music? Was it the voice? Or was it the lyrics? I think it was a combination of all three. And I think that's why she has broken a record with this song. And I also found out that there were several hits on the video as well. It hasn't broken a record, but I believe that because she was able to combine all three, she's coming back with a serious bang.
Yeah.
But she's also making her mark. And that's why it's a trending thing. It's trending, but she's still going to make a mark. I don't think Adele's going away. I think we're
Oh,
going to be hearing
no.
about Adele for many, many years ahead.
Yeah.
And she's going to become this generation's 50 stars. She won't be necessarily a Gladys Knight, but we know Madonna's still hanging around.
Right.
Her name still comes up. So I believe
Oh,
Adele
yeah.
will be a name that we'll be hearing, and our children and our grandchildren will be hearing in the years ahead. And I look forward to what else she's going to put out.
Me too. And speaking of our children and our grandchildren, you brought something to my attention about our children and when they get sick. For those of you who don't know, she's in the medical field. I'm not in the medical field, but
If
she
you are a
is.
parent, father or mother, you are in the medical field. Because how many times, Mommy, my stomach hurts. Daddy, I don't feel good. And we respond. And somehow our young people, our children, our babies, our dear ones, our angels, think that if we kiss the boo-boo, and I don't know how many dads have kissed bad boo-boos. Moms have probably kissed a few bad ones, but I know a lot of dads who have kissed boo-boos.
I'm squeamish.
And
So
suddenly it's better.
when the
But
kids hurt, I send them to their daddy. I do. If they get a splinter, ooh, your daddy's gonna have to get that out your foot. I send them to their daddy. I'm real squeamish, and he's in the medical field, so I send them to their dad.
I'm not the squeamish one. I can tackle it. But when it's not minor, when a little kiss on the boo-boo won't do it, when a little lollipop won't make them feel better,
Right.
and your young person, and I say young person because it really shouldn't happen when it's a baby, when it's a toddler, when it's a, what do they call it, a tween. But if your child happens to be 18 years old, you really aren't their parent anymore. Even though they're on your insurance, even though most of us are usually paying their expenses, they're driving our cars, they're on our car insurance,
Still
we're
live with you.
buying their shampoo for their hair. Yeah, they still live with you and eat your food. Yes, they
Yes.
do all of that. If your young person is 18 years old, you need to be equipped with some important pieces of paper. And this is a story that broke on WRAL News. So it's not my original story, but being parents, you and I both, having children, I've had to face some serious instances with my children. Not before, I had already put certain things in place, but I can't imagine the story that was on WRAL or any story you would hear, because this was not the only story that was on WRAL, but there was this mom whose son had just turned 18, and due to an accident, he found himself in the hospital, unable to communicate his own desires and needs in regards to his health care. But this 18-year-old, now keep in mind, he just turned 18,
Right.
was still on his parents' insurance, only for the mom, dad to find out they have absolutely no say whatsoever in his medical treatment
Because he was 18.
because he was 18. So it doesn't matter that the mom, the dad is paying for the prescriptions, paying the hospital bill, paying for all of the medical procedures. They have no say whatsoever in his care. This mom had to go to court, get an attorney, go to court, spend more money in addition to what they're paying for their insurance
Right.
to be able to make decisions for her son's care. I am not by any means, since I am a healthcare professional, saying that physicians, nurses, doctors cannot make good decisions regarding an individual's health care or their treatment. The fact is, though, they shouldn't be the first ones making that decision when there is an appropriate authorized individual to do so. But authorized takes a piece of
Authorized,
paper.
that's right. And that's the key word, authorized. Once that child turns 18, we have to fill out 3 different pieces of paper in order to make the medical decisions for our baby, because at 18, they're still our baby. Mine aren't 18 yet, but still my baby. And I need permission
Permission.
from my 18-year-old.
And we know our 18-year-olds sometimes forget to get permission. Not mine, but you know what I mean.
Permission from my 18-year-old children to be their power of attorney. What were the forms?
Well, there are several forms. I do know that if you do get an attorney beforehand, you can pay a little more money and get a combo type thing. But it's very similar to what a husband and wife does. A husband and wife needs a will. They need to have a living will. They need to have a power of attorney document. Well, the same for your young person once they turn 18. You want to have a HIPAA form. And that basically is a privacy form that gives you permission to receive and gives permission to share healthcare information with other healthcare providers should they need treatment or care and are unable to speak for themselves. So that's a standard form that you actually sign it every time you go to your doctor's office right now for procedures, or maybe when they want to get your records from another doctor, maybe they want to get a copy of something from a specialist. Your current provider asks you as an adult to sign a HIPAA form. The same for your 18-year-old or your 21-year-old who's on your insurance. And to be honest, it's not just people on your insurance. If you want to have the opportunity to make decisions for your daughter who's been living on her own for several years,
Right.
the HIPAA form will need to be signed. But in addition to a HIPAA form, you also want to have a power of attorney form for medical decisions. So I'm not just talking about sharing information. You need a form that says information can be shared about this child between people who need to participate in the care.
Medical information, right.
But then you need a power of attorney to make a decision once this information is shared. So your child breaks their leg, but due to a concussion, they're able to speak for themselves. So the question is, do you do surgery to set the leg, or do you first give it 2 weeks to see what it's going to do? They're 18. You don't have a power of attorney for their medical decisions. You can't make a decision in
Which
that.
means that the medical provider makes the
that
decision.
decision.
And so again, the story that she was referring to, this young man was in a coma, I believe, for an extended period of time. And it was the doctor's decision to decide, all those things we see and we hope never happens. But when you're talking about putting a person on a feeding tube and any treatment for that child in a coma, now the power is in the hands of the medical doctor treating the child if these forms are not signed.
And who's to say they're going to make the decision you would want to make?
Right.
I trust my providers that have cared for my family, but I still don't want them having the final say.
No.
I really don't. I don't want them having the final say. So in addition to a HIPAA release form,
Okay.
a medical power of attorney, you need a durable power of attorney. And that's for financial affairs. And I had not thought of this one myself. My husband and I are very fortunate that our children are doing well. They're able to take care of themselves, but our youngest child is still in college, and he has given us the opportunity to participate in his financial decisions and to make decisions about his financial affairs with him. But we did not necessarily think of a durable power of attorney
Right.
that would allow us to make decisions for his financial affairs if he's unable to.
Right.
And so that was something we had to go out and get as well. So those are the 3 key ones, but I don't want to claim to be an expert on it. What I want to encourage you to do is go out to the WRAL website, and it's right there. It's the latest story, so it won't be hard for you to find. And you'll get to, one, hear the story of this mother who faced this, but you'll also get a link right there to these documents. A HIPAA document you can obtain right from your child's doctor's office. When they go to the next primary care visit, you can ask about it. Also, I will mention, as a person who has faced this one, if you don't have time, you just found out that you are facing this situation, your mother, your brother, whomever is in a medical facility. Most medical facilities that I'm familiar with offer these services right there in the hospital.
Really? That's
so
good
in the
information.
Triangle, you've got some of the best healthcare systems. If you will let the nursing staff know, let the physician know, any professional healthcare provider that is at that facility, that you'd like to talk about a living will, a power of attorney, they either can assist you with certain documents or direct you to a resource for those documents, because the healthcare systems want you to have that on file as well. It makes their job a lot easier to treat people.
Well, not only in healthcare, but you know, I'm an adjunct faculty member at a college, and if you don't sign, if your children do not sign a FERPA form,
I have trouble with that word.
FERPA, FERPA,
FERPA.
a FERPA form,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not allowed to tell you their grades. I'm not allowed to tell you if they're attending class.
Devil is a lie.
And that's even if you paid their entire tuition. If you walked in there and you laid it down cash on the table, you wrote a check for their entire tuition. If you have
that charge card out there?
if you have not signed a FERPA form allowing the school to communicate with you over your child's grades and their attendance, then I can't share that information with you.
And they can drop out. That's what I'm talking about. The day I don't know, you know, for those of you all know about the Southern hospitality that we offer down here in the South, you know, some of us Southern parents say, I don't care what that school says.
Right.
My check, my cash, my cha-ching credit card is paying for it. Oh, I'm going to know what's going on. Or you're going to know the whip. Oh, did I say that?
But
you're going to know the pat.
But again, if you're a parent who is not aware of this information, so I will have a HIPAA form for and a power of attorney and a durable power of attorney for my children when they turn 18. But if you're a parent and you're excited, your child is going off to college, they're an adult now, they're eventually going to live on their own, pay their own bills, buy their own food and their own clothes. When you start thinking about those things, the last thing you're thinking about is that you will not have access to their attendance and their grades because of a piece of paper.
Well, and pieces of paper, we talk about a paperless system in general. We talk about technology and computers. Well, that piece of paper is important. So whether it's done electronically or it's done traditional paper way, you need to have that piece of paper. And yes, I am one of those parents. I'm going to know. My husband and I are not about to be kicking out money and not know. I have no problem with asking you what you're going to do with $5 if you ask me for it.
Let alone tuition.
So I would like to throw in a little parenting tip. Ask your young people before they're ever going off to college, just what are you doing with this $10 you asked for or I gave you? Just what are you doing with the $20 that you got for Christmas as a gift? As parents, we have that right to be a thorn and a downright pain. I remember one of my children once told a friend on the telephone, didn't know I overheard it, Mama's tripping.
Eavesdropping.
It's a nice thing. You can do that in your own house.
Yes.
You can. You can do that in your own house.
Yes.
As my husband says, I pay the bills here. Yeah, I can do that in my house. But they said I was tripping. And my response to them, yes, I am tripping, and I'm going to trip right over your head if I don't know exactly what's going on when I ask these questions. And that young person quickly relayed to me what I wanted to know. So I'm not saying you've got to run your household like I do. I'm just saying as parents, as adults, as people who are connected and in covenant with one another, we should be asking these questions before they go. If you have to ask your young person for their report card in the 5th grade, you can't expect them to automatically give it to you in the 12th grade. So continue to take that active role in your children's lives ahead of time. So this is a way of life. It's a lifestyle. When they go to college, they almost tell you about a FERPA, right? Am I saying it right?
FERPA, yes.
Watch her lips, FERPA. I think she says it better than I do. So get involved before that time and then be ready to ask the hard questions. When you drop them off at college, drop them off, and instead of just signing your paychecks away, also sign some authority over to you to know some things.
So we've learned HIPAA and FERPA
and
today.
Power of attorney for medical and a durable power of attorney for financial.
So those are forms that we all are now familiar with, and so shame on us if we don't do something about it, because now we have the information. And share this information with your family, with your friends, with your neighbor, in church on Sunday. Girl, do you know what a HIPAA form is?
Don't do that in church. You might get
before they start preaching. Before they start preaching.
Did you see how she did that? Can you imagine? You're going to have that little old lady watching people over here nudging one another and bending their head down like it's something kind of sneaky. And you're going to wind up at the altar. So I'm not sure you should ask it during church. You should be focused in church. Don't do it in a business meeting either. And, how about this? Email your friends over a cup of coffee. It's always good to connect with people face to face over a cup of coffee while you're taking a walk in the park or after church when you're fellowshipping. Ask them, have you thought about a HIPAA, a power of attorney, a durable power of
And a
attorney,
FERPA.
and a FERPA, and better yet, just go with that catch-all. Girl, man, I know this sounds kind of strange, but do you have your affairs in order? Because, we just heard that good word in there, get your house in order. So get your affairs in order. How about that? That's what we can tell
All
people.
right. Yeah,
That's
well,
what we can tell
we
people.
need to share it with everyone. That was my point. Just share it with everyone so that we can take this information and we can still have the ability to care for our children in the way that parents would.
Yes. And I want to have a little, I think the right word, antidote, right here. I'm getting tickled. For those of you all who might think that everybody is like you, tech savvy, I want to tell on myself. Had a moment.
Okay.
There are lots of gadgets in my house, lots of different computers and technologies in my house. And certain members of my household have been trying to adapt mom to a tablet. Mom is struggling with the swipe, the streak, whatever, all of this right here.
She has a touchscreen phone.
And it doesn't swipe, you touch. So they've gone through 3 tablets. And so I thought this was
Swipe?
hilarious. So I wanted to see if anybody out there
Swipe?
could email D or tweet me. Hey, tweet me. That's D
Look.
McNair OTA on the air at Twitter. I'm not paying any attention to her. So I want to know if there's a tablet out there you think will really work for me. But what happened was the family's sitting there and we're trying to share some information. So I guess I was supposed to swipe that way. No, swipe. I was supposed to paint without paint with my finger. And they even gave me a stylus, and that was even worse because I was pressing too hard. So it was like a double click, and app after app was opening. So I'm trying to swipe on the thing, and it's not working. And I mean, it's just a disaster. So I said, let me grab my laptop because I have this really cute, quaint laptop. Love my laptop. So I get the laptop, and I give it to one of the family members, and we're all gathered around for them to look it up on my laptop. But they are so used to like their Surface tablet, touch. They're looking at a traditional Lenovo. I have no problem with saying that, laptop, traditional. And they're actually trying to touch.
Because they have touchscreen laptops now.
Well, it ain't my problem. They backwards. They need to be up with the date and time. Mine ain't a touchscreen. Mine's
They
a
have
keyboard.
laptops now that you open up and the screen is fully touchable. We're going to Best Buy.
We're going to have to go to something.
When
we take commercial break something because I'm a pincher. I'm just, right. But at any rate, wanted to just share with you, though, while all this is going on, you wouldn't believe what the family was trying to do. We were actually trying to do something that really would have taken 1 minute had we all just stuck to our own technologies. So after we've gone from a tablet, we've gone to a laptop, you'd think we would have it. We had to revert to our cell phones. So I said to the family, next in bold print, I want you all to boldly tweet me. Email me. You can email me at jumpstarttalk@outlook.com. I want to know, what tablet would you recommend that D consider buying that I can learn to paint with no paint? That's what I call it, painting with the finger and no paint.
Do you run Samsung on your phone? Do you use a Samsung?
There's so many gadgets going on in that house. Girl, don't get me started on which one is which. I do know I have Android technology. I figured that out. I have Android technology.
I have a Galaxy, a Samsung Galaxy tab,
Okay.
and that's my tablet. And I don't have it with me today, but that if you have a Samsung Galaxy phone, then using the Samsung tablet should be, you should get yourself acclimated to using the tablet fairly quickly, coming from the phone.
I want to tell my co-host, thank you for my Christmas gift. You're giving me a new Samsung tablet. Thank you, Tamoji. So on TV, I want to say thank you, Tamoji. I'm getting a Samsung Galaxy tablet. Did you all hear that? It was on TV. Thank you.
What am I going to do with her? See, I'm not even going to wait for the commercial break. I'm going to pinch her right here sitting in this seat.
Well, if I told you all that I was giving every one of you all that emailed us a Samsung Galaxy tablet, you'd thank me right now. You wouldn't even wait till it got to you in the mail. I want to show my gratitude and thank you now.
Did I say I was giving her one? She
She
asked.
did. She implied
asked
it anyway.
The
She
studio
implied it.
audience,
She implied it.
what
She implied
tablet
it.
would work well for her. I just shared information.
Email me at jumpstarttalk
Please email
at
her.
outlook.com. Tweet me, D. McNair,
Start a
OTA
GoFundMe
for On the Air.
so that she can get her tablet.
Do not start a GoFundMe. We need to talk about that. There are people abusing GoFundMe,
Oh,
and we are
absolutely.
not about to join that group.
No, we're not.
And
No.
we're not. So we'll have to talk about that GoFundMe
I saw
stuff.
someone who wanted a GoFundMe. They had a GoFundMe account
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to go to Hawaii for their birthday.
Was anybody funding that account? We won't talk about that. We don't have time to talk about that. But you made me want to think about talking about it. Oh, okay. So we're talking about what's relevant, hot, and trendy.
Yes.
And I know that was totally out of left field, but I was so tickled. I told my family, I said, I've got to tell on myself that I'm just struggling with this finger thing here. Painting with no paint. That's what I call it. Painting with no paint. Wanted to talk about something a little bit more serious or relevant. I thought it was
Okay.
really relevant. I was thrilled to learn about this. We've heard about the minimum wage.
Yes.
I was a little resistant when I've heard some people talked about raising it to $15 an hour. What did you think of that, raising it to $15 an hour?
I think 15 it would be nice. However, when we look, I mean, and I'm not an economist by any means. I can only go by what I read and just minor research. And I don't think it should be 15, but do I believe it should be, a little higher? Absolutely.
Well, right here in Orange County, the Orange County Living Wage Group is advocating and is trying to push it through to raise the minimum wage to $12.75. And I say minimum wage, they are pushing for higher wages for
Yes.
people in Orange County. And they've had nearly 40 businesses already sign on with this initiative to pay
Wow.
their workers $12.75 an hour. I think it's awesome. What I'd like for those people to do who are pushing this initiative, the businesses that have signed on, I'd love for them to give us a shout out or send us some information about how you're making the numbers work. With the $15 an
Right.
hour, the issue I had or the concern I had, particularly being a small business owner, was how do you make that work when right now many small businesses are taxed with trying to provide health care to avoid having to push their employees out to the exchange,
Right.
or their employees are out there on the exchange and still the small business is struggling with benefits and the other packages they want to offer. So when I heard about the Orange County Living Wage Group and that they were advocating and actually had nearly 40 businesses on board with this, I thought it was worth mentioning. So if you want to know more about that, you can go to the Chapel Hill News and Observer, the Orange County Living Wage Group. They are doing work that's phenomenal for a group that's not that large,
Right.
but a group that's quite empowered.
Yes.
It's amazing what you can do. And to improve the living wage, the minimum or even the living wage that people are earning right here in the Triangle area is very important. We see about poverty across the seas. Poverty is
Right.
going on right here in the U.S.
That's right.
It's going on right here in Durham, Carrboro, Chapel Hill, the surrounding Orange and Durham counties. And it's happening because whether it's $7.50 an hour and even at $12.50 an hour, there are families of 4, families of 2, families of 10 that are totally unable to meet their daily needs. And money alone is not the answer.
Oh, it's not, because there are several factors when you start looking at wages, skilled versus unskilled labor and those sorts of things, paying people according to certifications and licensure and education. So there are many factors that you have to look into when determining what that minimum wage should be. And so I think that, I try to stay in my lane, and not being an economist and not understanding the full scope of situations where, I've read different articles about, having unskilled labor at a certain level of, income versus those who are skilled or have degrees in certain areas. How do you balance that out? Because we're still fighting for teachers
And
to have better
you
wages.
tap right into it. I'm not against raising wages by any
Right.
means, but how do you balance that? I think you and I had the conversation just the other day that it used to be we hoped for our children to finish high school. And it was, you finish high school, you get you a good factory job, and this was many years ago,
Yes.
of course, and you had it going on. You were set for life and set for retirement. Then it went from getting a high school diploma to at least getting an associate's, and you
Right.
were a big deal if you got a bachelor's degree from any university. Now the standard is really get the bachelor's and a master's. We've got young people with masters who are trumping people who have been in the field of their profession for more than 10 years. It's no longer the standard to just stop at a 4-year degree. So what do you do if you're paying people who have no formal training? They're
Right.
not even a formal trade. They have, I taught myself. This is what I know how to do myself. Making what is competing almost with entry level for some professions, people who have a 4-year degree.
Well, I had a conversation with someone, you know, it's by the time a child is 16 years old, they are allowed to not attend school anymore with
don't
the
like that either.
parent, without charging the parent, for being negligent over the child's life. So could you imagine if 16-year-olds could drop out of school and both get jobs making $15 an hour, which is what, about $30,000 a year?
I'm not going to try to multiply,
Right,
but I think
but
maybe
so you're
close.
looking at, could you imagine a 16-year-old and maybe an 18-year-old now being able to make combined income of, almost $60,000 with no education and no skill and live on their own? How attractive
Very.
would that be if you are 16 years old and you don't want to live by rules? You don't want to have, anyone telling you what you can do, where you can go. And so I'm 16. I can drop out of school. I can go find unskilled work and make $30,000. And so can my 16-year-old boyfriend or girlfriend now. And we can find a place to live and have this combined income of $60,000 without any skill.
And babies on the way. Not that I'm saying that's what
Right.
always happens, but quite often that happens. And that's when they find out, our shared 30, 40, 50, $60,000 is not a lot. And suddenly they realize they've been working what seemed like a good job at that salary, and they want to move up, and they're hearing from the boss, they're hearing from corporate, you can't move up because you don't even have the bachelor's. You can't move up because you don't have the master's. You can't move
High
up
school diploma if
because
they
you're
left
not
at
certified.
16.
Right. You're not certified. And true, they can get a GED. But what I want to really encourage young people about staying in school is that when we hear about OCLW wanting and advocating for higher wages, it's not for the 16-year-old. It's for your mom,
Right.
your dad, who are working 2 jobs, who are unable to maybe attend your games or to come to PTA because they're having to do that because maybe mom and dad didn't get the higher education degree. And look at your parents. If young people would look at your parents, look at the adults around you who are legally working, if you don't like where they are and you wish you were a little bit further, stay in school, get your high school diploma. If you can, pick up a trade or go on to further education. I will say, I do not believe everybody's called to go to college.
Right.
I believe that's where a lot of our creativity is lost sometimes if we stifle a young person who maybe has that creative idea, that creative vision that doesn't have to go to college.
Well, and there are cases like
Not many,
that.
but there are some.
There are cases, but for the average person, I believe that we should encourage them to go to school. I'm an educator and higher education, so I want students to come in there hungry and I want them to learn and to use their ability to critically think through a situation. I want them to learn that skill, learn that trade. And so for me, I want to see everyone go to college, earn a degree, especially if you're creative. And again, I get the argument that you're stating, Dee, but could you imagine, that person who might be a very skilled artist to then go to school and add on top of that all of the business sense that they need to take their love for art, their
Yes.
ability to paint, their ability to sew, their ability to draw, to write, to sculpture, whatever their artistic ability is, and then go grab them a business degree so that they now understand how to turn this art, this passion for art, into a business that can feed their family.
And I think that's the key thing is getting to college. So often the people who have talent, if it's a creative talent, it's a lot harder to get the scholarships than it is when it's a generic academic talent or an athletic talent. and that's a whole nother show, whole nother topic.
Yes.
But I throw that out there because I do believe there's nothing that beats a college education. It's nothing that beats the experience. I'll say that.
Right.
It's nothing that beats the experience. And I myself did not achieve it initially straight through. Mine was a working process. It was a line upon line, precept upon precept kind
Mine
of thing.
too.
But the experience is just something I can't describe for someone else. It will grow you up.
Well,
Or
and
grow
we're
you
blessed.
out
We're
of college.
blessed to live here in North Carolina. We have a huge community college system, 58 community colleges in the state of
Wonderful
North
ones.
Carolina. And the community colleges have an articulation agreement with our 16 state schools. So if you earn your associate's degree at one of our 58 community colleges, you are guaranteed to be admitted into one of our 16 state schools. And so when you even look at the financial side of earning a degree, to be able to go to the community college and earn your first degree there, and that's your time where you can work really hard to get the grades that you need to earn some scholarships to then attend that four-year institution. And so this state, you know, as far as education goes, we have plenty of opportunity for young people, adult people to go back to school if they choose and earn a degree.
And don't stop there. I will say the community colleges offer some awesome, awesome degrees, particularly for people who are not your traditional four-year universities. But being in healthcare, I will tell you that certifications and licensure has become more important than ever. There once was a time, and I'm not going to go too deep on this, I will have to get some information from a RN with a BSN degree about this, but several institutions, healthcare systems are no longer wanting to hire our two-year RNs. They're
Right.
wanting them to have the four-year degree, and that concerns me because quite often the people who are wanting to be a nurse are already taxed with the cost of a four-year or associate's degree education. But when you have a shortage of nurses and you're limiting their hope, is what I'll say, their hope, because what if you get the two-year degree from the community college, but it's going to take you some years before you are ready financially, ready emotionally, and maybe you don't have the support network there yet to go on to get your bachelor's, and you don't want to just work in a doctor's office taking vitals. You had hoped to get an opportunity for the experience in a ICU, an intensive care unit, and that's where you're right, going on to college. It is, I tell people, think of learning as a starting place with no ending place.
Yeah, we are to be lifelong learners, and the truth is when it comes to nurses, first of all, before I worked in education, I did not know that you could be an RN without a four-year degree. I wasn't aware of that, but the law has changed. And we know that the law has changed in terms of you now having to have that BSN. And so this
Well,
is
it's
just
not the law, it's the health
The
systems,
health
if I'm
system.
correct. That's why I
So-
say I don't want to misspeak.
Okay.
So if I'm wrong, write in.
Right. So since now we know that this is the process of becoming a nurse, I don't think that necessarily takes hope from anyone, Dee. I just think it now allows them to map out the real, the true plan to becoming one. And so there was a period of time where you could become an RN without that four-year degree. Now we're in a period of time where you can't. So things evolve and things change and things grow all the time. And the nursing field now, because of this information, we now know that you cannot become a nurse or practice as a nurse without achieving the four-year degree. And so
And it's not the only field.
Right.
There are several other fields, not just healthcare fields. There are several other fields that are looking for people to go on and get the four-year degrees and then the master's. And I think it is, in that sense, for many people, it's a motivation. It's a little push to go on to higher learning. And hopefully, Tamoja, we can talk about mentoring one day. Hopefully one day we can find a little niche that we'll carve out. And I really would love for us to talk about mentoring. You and I have both done that. We
Yes.
continue to do that. You coach. I think I mentor. You coach and mentor. I mentor. So also, if you are a young person, you have a young person, a young female, and I say that because I'm a little old-fashioned. Tamoja might actually kick me for this. I believe who can mentor a female better than a female? And yes, women can give so much wisdom to men, and men can give wisdom to women. But for me, when I mentor, I really like mentoring young women because I feel I can map out the plan I've taken and the course I've taken and show you how I got there. and it's easier for them to emulate it. But at the same time, I've had many young men who have asked me for input, asked me for my feedback, and I was always happy to give that. Always happy to
Well,
give that.
you know, she's stepping on my toes, and she knows this already because I run a men's mentoring program on a college campus. And it's interesting that you brought this up because initially people were wondering, wait a minute, this is a men's mentoring program. Why are they hiring a woman to mentor the men? And without going into what all the research states, typically we believe what she just stated, that it is best. But when you're looking at a mentor, those relationships should be extremely organic. And unlike a coach, where if you're going to coach basketball, you need to understand basketball.
What? Oh, Mom.
I can be a mentor to a male without being able to understand completely, of course, what it is to be male because I'm female, because of the nature of a mentoring relationship versus the nature of a coaching relationship. So yes, they've hired me to be a mentor to men, but they're not hiring me to coach the basketball team. No way.
And you have to forgive me, I really had a hot moment there. And we're going to leave it at that. We're not going to go any deeper on that one. Mentoring, coaching is important, though. And if you have succeeded at anything, professionally or personally, meaning you overcame addiction, you had to take the hard road or the high road for your education, you were the mother or the father to your siblings, and you have watched your siblings successfully stay out of jail. They stayed off in drugs. They've gone on to college. You should be reaching back to get one more. Don't waste time wondering if you can do it. It isn't about some elaborate plan. It's about caring. It's about sharing. And that's what you do. That's why I think you're so good at what you do.
And some training. And I will say this, when we bring in outside mentors, we do send them through a training process because there are certain things that you need to understand as a mentor or as a coach. And we use those words interchangeably, Dee, but they are not the same thing. Mentoring and coaching, you know, if it were a Venn diagram, they'd intersect like this. However, they're very, very different. And so when you are mentoring, you have this authentic relationship versus a coaching relationship. Those are typically
They quite often are
assigned.
yelling.
Well, they're
I'm
assigned.
I'm
Again,
thinking from athletics, you know, you think about the coach on the sideline and he's like, get in there.
and coaching is task-based versus mentoring, which is not, it's relationship-based. And, you know, that coach, their objective is to do what with the team? The coach wants to do what?
Yell at him.
Win. The coach wants to win. Don't mess with her today. The coach wants to win versus the mentor.
Wants the person, the
They
mentee
do,
to win.
but they also understand that they have to allow the mentee to have enough room to make their own decisions versus the coach who tells you, you guys are going to run in there and run this play. This is the position you're going to work in on this team. If you're going to be the forward, be the forward. If you're going to be the center, if you're going to be the guard. So, again, these two relationships are very different. And so whether you're going to be a mentor or a coach, I suggest that you get some training. Dee.
And I do agree. I do agree. But don't feel like because you don't have the training, you can't be a mentor. You can. And just a little side note, if you have to ask someone to be your mentor, make sure you've put some time in. Don't just walk up and ask them blindly. You better be sure you were right about that. It can be considered quite offensive and intrusive. You know, before we close out the show, I did want to just quickly touch base. Wanted to ask you this. Tamoji travels a lot by plane. I travel by plane, but I will say not nearly as much as Tamoji, as she's flying all around the place and speaking. I fly more for fun than I do anything else. But that being said, you know, there were a couple of more planes that have gone down, not here in the U.S., but I was curious, which is safer, flying, train, bus, motorcycle, car, what? So I went out there and I wanted to find out who had looked it up. And I tried to find a reputable source.
Okay.
CNN Money.
Okay.
I think that's pretty reputable, right?
Yes.
CNN. Everybody knows CNN. CNN Money back in the spring did their own little research. They did their own little survey.
Okay.
Got it right here in front of me. Got it
Okay.
right here in front of me.
All right.
And it was one of the simplest things I found out. They didn't make it complex. Still, in the U.S., now let me clarify, we're talking about U.S. travel.
Okay.
Not just traveling in the U.S., U.S. authorized modes of travel.
Okay.
Planes are still the safest.
Really?
I know some scaredy cats out there are trembling in their seat.
Well, I
Trains-
drive a lot too.
Trains were good too.
Okay.
But guess what was second after planes?
After planes comes.
Bus.
You could
I
have waited
was
for
going
my
to say, no,
drum roll
I wanted to say
finish.
nasty, and you saved me on the drum roll. Time's ticking. But so just want to share this with you. Go check out CNN Money, because you were on a plane and I was praying for you to get back safe, as I
Amen,
pray for
I
you always
receive
to
it.
go and come back safe. Planes are still the safest. If it's a U.S. airline, still the safest. Second is the bus. Of course, cars and motorcycles were the least.
And I think that's just a statistical thing with the amount of cars and motorcycles we have on the road. Probably, maybe, well, cars for sure. Motorcycles just because, well, they're motorcycles.
They're motorcycles. But hey, who doesn't like a good Harley? That's all I'm going to say. Well, Tamoji, time is almost up.
Really?
It's almost up.
Already?
When you're hanging out with good people, when you're hanging out with the best people, people who are bold in spirit, who got the fine print that says, you know what, whether you knew it or not, I'm authentic. That's what we know you are. You are bold, you are authentic. So we consider you to be pretty fine too.
Absolutely. So thank you again for tuning in to The Bold Print, where we discuss what's relevant, hot, and trending.
That's right. And we do it by examining the fine print. I'm Dee McNair with my co-host.
Tamoji, the Empowerment Specialist.
And I thank you, as we both thank you, for watching and tuning in for In Bold Print, where we discuss what's relevant, what's hot, and what's trending. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.